here. We're live. We did it.
Hey.
We survived an election process. Welcome, everybody. What's up to all our sidekicks and henchmen out there in the Geek Nation? You're listening to the Spoiler Alert, Gutter Talk, CultPop Extravaganza Sunday morning comic book review show. TM. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo. With me this week is...
Brian Lieb.
Whom, let's see, what do the notes say? Brian Lieb, whose earphone is fitting much better than last week because he shaved the inside of his ears. B, tell the people something.
Guys, I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good today. And, it's, good morning, for sure.
Also with us this week is Len the Bat Tribble, who is...
Feeling brand new day. Can you feel a brand new day? Can you feel a brand new day? Can you feel a brand new day?
To answer your question, Len, yes.
Yes, I can feel it. I can feel a brand new day all up in my cockles. We are here to talk about this week's books. And we're going to do that now because we don't have any letters. No correspondence.
No letters?
We have no letters.
Max
We have
says,
no letters.
Max says, what's up, guys? Action Figure Expert says, hello, what's up? What's going on? How you guys doing? And Christopher Goodnight says, hello.
Hello, Christopher. Good night.
Hello. Doing well.
Yeah, very excited. Oh,
Yeah.
Man. Yesterday was great.
Yes.
Oh, it felt nice. I got a little teary-eyed listening to someone on television who is supposed to be in charge of the country very soon using whole sentences. I was like, he's using actual words and saying things that are nice.
Yeah. What a speech, too, right?
What's that?
What a speech.
Right? Oh, it was good. It was
That
great.
was a great speech. I got a little teary-eyed to it a couple of times yesterday.
And I was like, oh, he's got energy.
Yeah.
Look at this guy.
You know what actually hit me? I mean, yes, it's beautiful. It's fantastic. You know, I voted for Joe Biden. I'm excited to have President-elect Joe Biden, you know, leading this country going forward. I'm also excited to have the first woman vice president, the first, Asian vice president, the first black vice president in the White House. I'm excited for all that. But you know what is more exciting for me? And I've been thinking about this and I haven't heard anybody mention it yet.
What's that?
Is that how cool and how true the vision and the sight will be when the President of the United States goes into Congress to deliver his first State of the Union, and sitting behind the president, sitting behind that man will be two women, because it will be the vice president of the United States who is a woman, and it will be the Speaker of the House who is also a woman. And if there is no bigger truism in all of humanity, that behind every single solitary good thing that any man has ever done or represented, there has been a even more accomplished and powerful woman. And that will be such a fantastic vision to see. I cannot wait for it.
Yes. Same.
Yeah.
Christopher Goodnight says, I'll celebrate when they're actually in office.
Hey, fair enough. I'm not fully exhaled yet either.
Yeah.
That's true, Christopher.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was just telling B and JD, the next 74, 73 days of whatever it is going to be the best shit show ever. Watching this whole bullshit that has been happening for 4 years disintegrate before our eyes is going to be so fucking joyful. Oh, you don't have to cross your fingers. That shit is going down. That shit is going down, dog. It is imploding right now. They are the charges are just slowly going off at the very bottom, the lowest level basements of this shit. and it's just starting to just pyre all up, and that shit is gonna come crumbling down, and I'm gonna sit there for every fucking moment of it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
You want to talk about this week's comics? Because I'll do it. Don't even test me. I'll fucking do it.
JD,
And let me see you.
are you gonna do it?
I'm gonna do it right now. Batman Volume 3. This is the third volume of Batman, number 102. Let me bring up my little banners here. I'm gonna put it on the thingle dingle. There we go.
Banners on the tingle dingle.
Yeah. And everything, my computer's moving slow, so that's great. Okay, Batman number 102, written by James Tynion IV, with art by Carlo Pagulian and Danny Miki, with cover art by Jorge Jimenez. 32 pages. Bruce Wayne and the city he loves have changed dramatically following the events of the Joker War, but Batman and his mission are eternal. But not everyone thinks that should be the case. The mysterious vigilante, known as Ghostmaker, has known Bruce since they were teenagers, and he's made his decision. It's time Gotham City had a new hero. So yeah, Ghostmaker showed up at the end of, I want to say, issue 100.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like a lot of the designs by Jorge Jimenez, it looks cool, if not very overdone. There's a lot of elements to all of his costumes, but it looks pretty cool. He reminds me a little bit of, what's his name? The Ghost from Iron Man?
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of that guy.
Yeah.
But I was curious about him, and it's interesting to me that right off the bat, the very first full issue that he appears in, they're just like, oh, here's who the guy is. I was surprised. Usually they string these things out, and there's a long process of like, who is it? Oh my God, it's someone from Bruce's past. And they're like, no, it's this guy. It's this teenager. It's this guy. He grew up. Now he's trying to usurp Batman's position in Gotham. What did you guys think, Len?
The thing I like about the Riddler, the Joker, Catwoman, is they are criminals. And they are criminals who have a particular intent. They know what they want. They're going after it. And you know what I also like about them? That their history owes nothing to Bruce Wayne or Batman, except that they just happen to run up against him. And I think the last time we had someone who, in his original incarnation, I think, had that same kind of origin, who has risen to the level of prominence as far as the villain, is Bane. Now, I could be wrong because they've rewritten Bane's story so many times that I might be I might have missed a retcon or two, and it made it more of a connection, like made Bane more of like the doomsday of Batman's Rogues Gallery. But if I remember correctly, originally he was this drug-addled, dude in Santa Prisca or whatever the fuck. And Batman kind of like just ran up against him. And then, the animosity brewed and what have you. I am so tired of Batman's origin. Like every second Tuesday that Bruce Wayne lived between when his parents were killed and when he became Batman, that he met somebody who now is coming back into his fucking life. I am so fucking tired of it. And I agree with JD. This costume, massively overdrawn. I didn't really give a damn about I don't really like the name, but I was like, all right, let's see where they go with this. Let's see what they're doing with this. But no, yet again, we hearken back into those, unseen Tuesday afternoons in Batman's origin, where he met yet another person who was doing the same quest as Batman for some freaking reason, or the same quest as Bruce Wayne, to learn everything, to become all that he can be, so that he could then return very, coincidentally at the point of Batman 100 to, strike out on his own. And it is because of that this book just ran real cold with me, and I just didn't care. Plus, the art, wow, well done. I'm not going to knock the drawing. I'm not going to knock the illustration. But because the dude's costume is so overdrawn, you don't know where you're supposed to see, like where's his eyes, because they look like things that's maybe his eyes, and depending on who's drawing it, because there's a couple of artists in this book, the eyes look like where they're supposed to be, and there's other places where the eyes look like down here, and so the whole face mask is supposed to be. That page right there, go back, JD. That page right there, it's supposed to be real dynamic of this guy going through this window. But it looks very still to me. There's no movement in it. And that was also a big disappointment. The art is there. It's just the storytelling that there's something missing. It's just a little something cold about it. And that and this, the sameness or the, once again-ness of this story, just made me like, ugh. And I was like, and that panel right there, I'm touching the screen. Y'all can't see me touching the screen, but that panel, I'm realizing it. Can you tell I'm happy? Can you that panel, that page right there, the panel where Bruce Wayne is running towards us. You can't tell me, one, that's not a swipe or something. I know I've seen that pose 1,000 times before, and two, it makes this panel, you know what? It looks very 90s to me, and that just makes it feel, that and everything else makes the story feel very dated, and it just didn't do nothing for me. I was just like, I was happy to be done reading this comic.
Okay, fair enough. Brian,
I'll tell you, I enjoyed it. I did feel exactly the same thing that Len did about this guy. It didn't get in my way as much as for Len, but I was reading it and I was like, is this just a function of me having read Batman comics for so long that it's like, how is there anybody left that he hasn't run into again from the relatively short number of years? I don't know, maybe 10 plus years. I guess it's actually a lot of years. But I was like, oh, another person who is from the past, just like Len thought. But I still liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I thought the art was good. I thought it was interesting. Now, this is not when this new status quo has premiered, but it's kind of the first time that we've seen Batman in action without the money, Mm-hmm. And it's never been done before, to my knowledge. I don't think I'll miss it when they eventually give him his money back, but it's cool. It's an interesting twist for him. I know in the show Arrow that happens, and it happened to Green Arrow in the comics. It's kind of odd that they never tried that with Batman before. But we'll see where it goes. That scene that you've got up right now, JD, with Harley Quinn, that was cool, and I like that last panel where she sticks her head out. Very well illustrated.
Yeah.
Like, hey, how's your feeling about hyenas? She's trying to get an apartment. The guy doesn't want to rent it to her. But he does eventually. I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. God, look at that costume. What? All right, I'm sorry for the audio listeners who can't see this panel. Ghostmaker has a helmet with 19 elements on it. He has a hood. He's got shoulder pads, 2 swords. He's got all sorts of armor that lays on top of each other, kind of like a roach, maybe, like segmented. And then underneath the armor, he also has a loincloth that goes all the way down to his ankles. And he's got gigantic, billowy MC Hammer pants. Ask your grandparents who MC Hammer was. And then a cape on top of all of that. And it just, for martial arts, it just seems really
heavy,
difficult to move around in. You're going to get wrapped up in all of that flapping fabric. So it's a bit much.
Maybe that's why we haven't seen him before.
Yeah,
he's just caught up in the cake.
This long to get out of his apartment. Whatever. That's just a design element. That's fine. But I actually really liked his first appearance where they show him, and he just has a mask with a little V on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Much better. But for the story, I think, again, another guy from the past. It reminded me of Tommy Elliott from Hush.
Yeah, definitely.
At least this isn't a big, from what I can tell so far, a big red herring of like, oh, we've met this kid before, but none of the readers have known that, and the new villain has shown up. Who could it possibly be? And then, 12 issues later, oh my God, it was Tommy Elliott, the guy we just introduced with issue 1 of this series. I can't believe it. So at least they, forewent all of that rigmarole. But yeah, otherwise it's fine. And I don't really care about him so far. He's just another guy who shows up who thinks he can do it better. Didn't this happen recently in the New 52 Batman and Robin? There was a new character who Bruce knew, who comes back, who wants to do Bruce's job better than Batman does. He had like 3, it was a black helmet with 3 red dots on it. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about?
That doesn't ring a bell, but it kind of sounds similar.
It was during the Peter J. Tomasi Batman and Robin run. It was like the first story arc.
I don't remember that. It kind of sounds like the, what was his name? The Executioner. He had an episode in the animated series.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was the Executioner. No, the Executioner. Wait a minute. Well, no, I'm thinking about the Judge in the animation series, in the animated series.
Okay.
I don't know. That just tells you how often this happens.
Right.
Just like we're referencing like about 12 different times this has happened across, the span of everything that has been Batman.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I mean, that's also a common, like, it's a common vigilante superhero kind of adversary where it's like, no, I'm not a bad guy. I don't think you kill enough bad guys.
Yeah.
Right.
But also he's kind of a bad guy. Well, more than kind of, probably.
Oh, the other element that you were talking about, Brian, was now Batman has no money. And so far, there's not a lot to deal with that situation. So I think as we're moving forward and he doesn't have the money to replace all of his gadgets and stuff, I think it's going to get more interesting. The less he has to use in his war on crime. So I'm curious to see how it's going to go moving forward. But so far, it's just like, oh no, I don't have any money. But I still have some money.
Right.
Yeah. The time will tell is when he reaches for a batarang and there's an empty utility belt. That's when he's like, oh damn. You know what I mean?
It's like a store-bought boomerang or just somebody's toy.
Anthony Drago says it was the son of Descartes. Thank you.
Okay.
Very cool.
Okay.
Very cool.
Now the one thing I will say that I liked about this book, or at least what seems to be happening in the Batman universe, is the seeming return of Barbara Gordon to the Oracle role.
Yes.
And I do hope that sticks. I know that there's been talk about her like adopting, spoiler and I forget the other.
Orphan is her name now?
Orphan, yeah. To be like her new Batgirl surrogates and everything like that. And I'm fine with that. But if she stays Oracle and they actually lean into it the way that they did earlier, I think that is a much better role for Barbara Gordon, a role that she honestly should have never left out of, and a more powerful role for her. So I am happy to see how that develops.
It's different too.
Expert says needs to bring more lesser known Batman villains like Firefly.
I'd be into that.
Yeah. Lesser known. I don't know if I need Firefly, but
but like Firefly.
I mean, look, I remember, and this harkens back to when I used, my younger days, but I remember in the 70s when Marshall Rogers and Steve Englehart, revised Deadshot and made him into the villain that we know now. That happened in the 70s. Deadshot was a villain that showed up in like the 40s and 50s and seemingly sat in jail for all that time. He even does a commentary of like watching the rotation of all these guys leaving jail and him sitting there, So it can happen. You go back into the archives and you kind of like, just tweak things a little bit and you can make them. I would love to see somebody do something with the Mad Hatter. It doesn't always have to be about hats. It can be about getting into the head. Like the Mad Hatter is rife for recycling and revisioning.
I haven't seen him in a long time, actually.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, yeah.
I think we saw him. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of White Knight. Sean Murphy's White Knight. We saw him in White
Yeah.
Knight. To a very, very cool effect. There was a Mad Hatter and Clayface thing that happened that I was just like, oh snap, that's pretty gross and dope.
It was.
All right, let's move on to Wolverine.
Oh, and you know what? The Mad Hatter was used in. Wasn't the Mad Hatter used in Young Justice?
Yes, I think so. Was he actually one of the earlier villains that they?
No, I think in the most recent season, I think Mad Hatter has a part in that.
Oh.
In the most recent season, yeah. See, you can do things with a Mad Hatter. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, for sure.
Wolverine Black, White, and Blood #1 from Marvel Comics from Jerry Duggan, Adam Kubert, and more. Top Marvel talent sink their claws into all new Wolverine tales, and they're bloodier than ever. Logan, Patch, Weapon X, Wolverine. The mysterious mutant has gone by many names and lived many different lives. Now, experience all new untold tales of the best there is through the lens of an all-star cast of creators in the unadulterated black and white format with a healthy splash of blood red all over. Return to the Weapon X program with Jerry Duggan and Adam Kubert, and a new revelation from Wolverine's shattered memories. Join Matthew Rosenberg and Joshua Cassara on an explosive deep cover spy mission from Wolverine's association with Nick Fury. Head into the wilds with writer-artist Declan Shalvey as Logan finds himself in the crossfire of a deadly trap. This is the one you've been waiting for, bub. Parental advisory. I was not waiting for this, and it was just fine. The first one brought no new revelations, even though it said it did, unless I missed a revelation. I did really like the second storyline with Nick Fury and the payoff for that, using his mutant healing factor in a very interesting way. But and the third one was fine. It was interesting, but they're not kidding. Really, it's just all black and white except for the blood that is all over these pages. What did you guys think, Brian?
I wasn't waiting for it either, and I'm glad I wasn't. It was okay. You know, I mean, if you're into Wolverine, I mean, I like Wolverine, but he's not one of like my top tier characters. If you're super into Wolverine, I think you'd probably like it. You know, it was the art was experimental. I don't know that it didn't flow that well for me, but there were definitely elements of it that I liked. It was interesting and fine. I don't know. Is this the plan for this whole series to be in the black, white, and red? Okay. I found myself the first story. I was like, a thing from Wolverine's past. Kind of nothing unexpected there. The second one, by the end of it, I know why. But most of the time I'm reading it, I'm like, how does this Hydra guy not know who Wolverine is? Right? Like, he's in the Wolverine costume, so it's not from a time before he was in the X-Men. He's, I would assume, one of the best known adversaries amongst folks like Hydra. You know, like, if you know Nick Fury that well, how do you not know who this is? Although the payoff for that was cool, and I see why they had to do that, because the payoff was he had smuggled a bomb in his body, you know, that he like cut open. And there were a lot of cool, like, the Hydra guy thinks he's got Wolverine right where he wants him, but it is dripped out that Wolverine and Nick Fury have the Hydra guy right where they want him. So, you know, overall, pretty cool story. And the last one, a nice Wolverine tale. Not nice. I mean, there's a lot of pain and bloodshed, but you know, kind of an interesting character twist with the guy that shows up at the end, the state trooper, I guess, that was dirty but had gone good, and this was kind of payback from the villains for having turned around, you know, and not been good.
So with the second storyline in Budapest, the problem is the very first page, Budapest, 39 hours ago. Second page, undisclosed location, now. So when I take now and I'm reading it, I'm like, how does this guy not know who Wolverine is? He's been around forever. What are you doing? So then I had to go, oh, they mean now for the story, not now for the reader. which I think is very confusing. I literally took it as like, oh, okay, this is modern day. Oh, neat. Okay. So definitely not the case.
Even with that, like, I got the sense that it was set in the past, but not far enough in the past that he shouldn't know who Wolverine is, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I looked at that caption, I was like, did that mean 30? Did it say 39 years? Did they mean 39 years? Like, no. I'm like, all right. Yeah, I found that to be a bit confusing as well. Yeah, this didn't do anything for me either. I will say, though, that speaking to the first story, which is, you know, a whole lot of ruggamaroo about nothing, to be honest.
Yeah.
The first story is yet another Wolverine versus Sabretooth fight.
I think that was Wendigo, actually.
Yeah,
Wendigo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. I will say that I thought that the use of red was more imaginative in that one, because there were times when the red was used as like the inside of wherever this bunker was, or this, where people were viewing the scene. So I dug that. And I thought that this was some of Adam Kubert's best art that I've seen in a while as well.
It's real nice.
It's real nice art. And it's clear. I understand what's going on. So while the story is much to do about nothing, the presentation of it is something to be championed, which at the end of the day, in a lot of these black and white things that they do, whether or not it be Marvel with Wolverine or DC with Batman, as they're going to be returning to soon as well, that really is like really the biggest thing about it. It's about how you're getting over the presentation. So I like that in the first story. The second story, much like you, the two of you, I got confused about time-wise, how the time was jumping. I also, while I dig the whole idea of Wolverine hiding a bomb inside of him and taking advantage of his healing factor, I mean, that's a very trusting healing factor that that you could blow up a bomb from inside me. You know what I mean? And like, I guess you just realize like, okay, I'm gonna blow this up. And I'm going to be off the grid for a year or two while everything reconnects, So that's basically what you're saying. You know what I mean? I mean, this is not like T2 and all the body parts are just going to start morphing together and just create a Wolverine. But so there's that. And the last story, it felt like Wolverine, like all of a sudden crossed into an episode of Fargo. I didn't know what was, I mean, it was kind of cool, but and cool looking. I didn't mind the art of it. It's definitely had like an indie feel, and I liked that presentation of it. But again, it was one of those situations where I felt, okay, they set it up so that you can have Wolverine go ham on all these freaking people, and you can satisfy the reader's bloodlust and have Wolverine just go murk like 80,000 more people, So, I mean, it. Yeah.
My big takeaway from this as a retailer is, when this is all said and done, this is going to be an excellent trade paperback that I can hand to people who like Wolverine.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
There's no continuity really to it. It's just snapshots throughout his history. If you like Wolverine and you like him doing what he does, done.
And he is the best there is at that. So
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I hear that it's not pretty, but he's
is that right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's solid. It's just I haven't really cared about Wolverine in a long time.
Yeah.
As a character, like when he was gone, I went, okay. Laura took over as the all-new Wolverine, and I thought it was fresh and fun, and I really liked her, and I liked her. I liked Honey Badger and all that stuff, the Tom Taylor, what have you. I thought that was great. And now that he's back, I'm like, all right, he's back. I don't think anything interesting has been done with the character since he's returned, other than he's Wolverine. So,
well, JD,
yes.
You don't care about Wolverine, and that's fair. Too much anymore, right?
No, he's fine.
Right, but recognizing that Wolverine is here to stay, right? If you, and for you too, B, if you could wish what the next step for Wolverine would be, story-wise, like, or at least some avenue of him that has yet to be explored or really taken advantage of, what would it be?
I'll tell you. I got two things popped into my head. One has already been done. I just thought, not in the comics. Actually, no, I'm wrong. It has been done in the comics. So I'll just bring it up anyway. So you know, it was one of the cartoons where everyone kind of disbands, and Cyclops, Professor X is in a coma, I think, and Cyclops is disillusioned and he leaves, and Wolverine runs the school. He's getting like messages from the future from Charles Xavier. I thought that was pretty cool. That was a cool idea, but they did do that actually in the comics. Not exactly that, but he ran the school. So the one that just popped into my head was, like a time travel thing where he's in, like the days of the samurai, like an ancient Japan kind of thing. Could be interesting, for a time.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen that, but it wasn't
We'll
time travel.
forget
They've already gone this. That's the thing with this character, is that he has been around so long, and they have done so much with him, and he has been so everywhere,
Right.
that it's hard to have new things to do with this character, and I'm not smart enough to think of one. I would like to see that samurai time travel story, Brian. I like the Old Man Logan stuff. I thought, the Miles, Mark Miller, Old Man Logan was a really cool way to take the character. I like the movie Logan, and I think there's interesting things to be done with the character. But they've already, and through no fault of their own, the character has been around so long that you can only do the man of mystery thing so long. Eventually, you got to tell his origin, even though his origin isn't very interesting. They did it, and.
I remember. Oh, sorry.
No. It's just I can't think of anything new to do with the character. Is my point. Sorry.
I remember thinking when they did that, I was like, I really thought that Wolverine was going to be a lot older than that. Like he was going to be like a early human or something, that kind of thing. But that would be interesting. Go back in time to like the age of the dinosaurs, and he's all on his own, or
that's just him in the Savage Land.
That's a fair point. And I was even thinking, far future. And then I thought, Old Man Logan. Well, even farther than that.
Days of Future Past.
Even far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, the only thing that I can think of, and I don't know if it's been done, so you guys tell me, is to take Wolverine from Earth and put him in more a cosmic galactic setting and leave him there for, let's say, the next 5, 6, 7 years, and let him navigate there. Let him have to navigate on other worlds with those other cultures. I don't know if that's ever been done, but I think that might be an interesting way to re-explore who he is and his edicts, and even some of his powers, like he can smell so many things. Take him some place where he doesn't recognize these smells.
Oh, that's interesting.
He doesn't recognize what's happening, where his healing factor might be challenged by the change of gravity where he is, or something like that. That's the I think might be an interesting way to at least reimagine the character.
Oh, you could also have him just not for the whole 5 to 7 years, but one story where he is somehow just floating through space and constantly re-healing, but he's like in a sticky situation because he's just floating through space. Yeah,
it reminds me of spoilers for the movie Old Guard.
Yeah, I was right there.
Yeah, you have that immortal woman constantly drowning and rebirthing and drowning and over and over and over again, which just eventually drives her insane.
Yeah, I think that would have a good chance to do it.
Yeah. Christopher Goodnight said, "I hated the movie Logan, but mainly for the same reason I hated most of the X-Men movies. They had a bunch of random mutants with basic powers." What? Why did that? What did that make you hate Logan?
I thought Logan was probably the best X-Men movie that's ever been made. I love Logan.
Logan is one of the best, I think, comic book films that's ever been made.
I still haven't seen it. I don't know why. It came out at a time when I was working at a movie theater and I kind of got out of the habit of seeing movies, except like those kinds of movies that were right up my alley. But I think I was also graduating college or something at the time, and it was like a big push to get everything done. And then it left the theaters.
That old?
Well, I didn't graduate college when most people my age did. I went to school, worked full time, and went to school part time for about 10 years. And took a bunch of classes that never contributed to my degree directly, but so it took a while for me to to get there. Yeah.
All right.
It's so good.
It's so
you gotta
good.
watch Logan. It's one of my favorite superhero films of ever.
I should. I've created a list of movies that I really should see, and that is on that list. And this is not in my head. I've written this down.
Then give us the top 5.
Yeah.
The top, like literally the top 5 that are on the list.
Well, you've given us Logan, so give us 4 more.
There's going to be some on here that you are like, Brian, what's the matter with you? Why have you not seen this movie?
We've already done that.
Well, get ready to say it even more. Spider-Man: Far From Home. I have not seen that. And part of the reason was when it came out, I forget why I didn't see it initially. And then he wasn't going to be in the MCU anymore. And it just like removed the wind from my sails about it. It deflated me on that one. And then I was like, I really should see it. Now, maybe if I could top that, Into the Spider-Verse, I have not seen, right? I don't know why, guys.
Drop his feed.
Oh, man. Oh, this is better. Woo.
Woo. Can't let this virus spread.
Man, you know what was great, Len? Into the Spider-Verse. Wasn't that movie great?
It was the best superhero movie I've ever seen.
It's the best superhero movie, absolutely.
I don't disagree. I could hear them the whole time. For those of you listening and don't know that they cut me off of the video, but I really should see it. I make no excuses for that lack of having seen that. And then after it left the theaters, I was kind of like, oh, I didn't see it in the theaters. Now I got to watch it on my TV instead of the theaters. Then we got 2 more. Star Trek Beyond, which is, I haven't heard like it's so great, but it's a Star Trek movie, and the fact that I haven't seen that is a shock, to me
good,
personally.
It is good.
Cool. I'm glad to hear it. And this next one was not released in theaters. Superman Red Sun. Both of the animated ones. So I'm going to sneak an extra one in there. I haven't seen the newest Superman animated movie either.
I haven't seen the newest one either.
It looked good, though. Yeah, Man of Tomorrow, I think.
Yeah. Or, I also haven't seen, and I really want to, the Death in the Family.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a choose-your-own-adventure animated film.
Yeah.
I didn't. Was that must have just been recently released?
I thought it was because it's recently released. Brandon Jackson Shorts, friend of the show, was in here the other day complaining that I guess he got the digital version, and if you get the digital version, you do not get all of the different outcomes.
Oh, that's
I was
lame.
like, well, then I'll probably buy it on Blu-ray, and he's like, don't do that either.
Then how do you get all of the outcomes?
That's the point. I think he's like, don't bother.
Oh, gotcha. So he got him, but I hear
It
it.
was just he didn't like the movie.
I see.
But also, he's got a thing about Tim. I don't know if there's like a Tim problem in there, but he hates when they mistreat Tim.
Tim Drake?
Tim
We're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he takes over after Jason Todd is killed, so I wonder if it's a Tim problem.
Is it a movie? Like, is it a full movie? I thought it was just like a short.
Oh, I'm not sure.
No, I'm pretty sure it's a full movie.
I thought
a
it
full
was
movie with like different outcomes as far as, because the whole deal was, when the original story ran was that people got to vote on whether or not Joker killed Jason Todd or not. So the whole idea is that you get these different outcomes. Like, what if he killed Jason Todd, or what if he didn't kill Jason Todd? So I think but I think it's a full movie.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Like, I didn't want to see it because, to me, even though I know technically, you can do different versions of the story, I've seen this when I saw Batman Red Hood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Under the Red Hood. You know what I mean? I've seen it already, which is great. And I don't need to revisit that story again animated.
I will. Let's move on to crossover number 1 from Image Comics by Donny Cates with art by Jeff Shaw. And let's see, Diamond has this to say: the creative powerhouse is behind the best-selling, critically acclaimed God Country, Thanos Wins, and Redneck returns for the biggest launch of the year. Imagine everything you thought was fantasy was real. And now join us in a world where reality is dead and anything is possible. So what we have here is basically one of my favorite contemporary writers, Donny Cates, doing a thing in Image Comics where superhero comic books have infiltrated the real world on a very specific date in a very specific city. And I believe it's from all of the different companies. So you got Marvel heroes, Batman heroes, and I'm assuming Image heroes as well.
I think Savage Dragon was alluded to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alluded to. I'll get to that.
Okay.
So very interesting idea. Marvel already did it. Mark Miller did a book called 1985, I believe it was called. And it was basically Marvel superheroes interacting with the real world in a world where comic books exist. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't think I liked the end of it very much. But we have the same sort of element here where what happens when superheroes who are super powerful interact with the real world. And then also, how does that affect comic books as a medium? How does it affect comic book stores as retailers? And how does it affect the world at large? And I thought it's a very interesting look at those things. I think the first issue is pretty interesting, though not, I wasn't super enamored with it, but I went, oh, we're off to an interesting start.
When you say you weren't enamored with it, what do you mean? Like the story didn't connect with you, or?
Yeah, I'm curious to see where it's headed, but it wasn't like, oh my God, everyone has to read crossover number 1. It wasn't like Department of Truth, where as soon as I read it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna tell people to read this.
Right.
But I think if you're interested in it, check it out. I don't think it's a universally approachable subject matter, right?
Yeah, that's the way I agree with it too. I thought it was a very interesting premise, and I was there. First of all, I think the cover is amazing. Just something about the cover just really struck me. Yeah. It's just solid. The logo, the imagery of it, I just found it really evocative, and I was there. You know what I mean? And it was illustrative of what's happening without it being a scene from the comic. You know, so that's why I like the cover so much. But the whole story idea of it, I thought it's kind of cool. It's a different way to look at comics. It's a different way of looking at it. You can think about it, you know, to a degree, you know, America, and how we deal with one another, how we can other people, you know. So I dug it. There's a moment where there's supposed to be like a big reveal of one of the others being in the space that, because my eyes are so used to the language of comics, it wasn't immediately recognizable to me why this wasn't other. And I had to turn the page back like, oh, the coloring. Now I see it.
Oh, right.
All right.
It just didn't hit with me because I'm used to that. You know what I mean? So, but it was well done. You know, when I go back and look at it, I'm like, okay, good on you. And probably if it was, you know, if it stood out more, it probably would have pulled me out of the comic book a little bit. So I actually, you know, in looking back on it, appreciated it. The art was leaving me a little cold, but it slowly grew on me. And the whole idea, I thought it was very interesting, like you said, JD, the whole idea of the commentary about how this affects not only the world at large, but the retail world of comic books, I thought was really, really cool, and an aspect you don't ever see covered before. I like, that JD showing the page that I was speaking of, and it didn't. There's the treatment, the coloring of the character there is definitely from the 70s, from the way they used to color comics books there when they were on basically like newsprint. And it's a way that people, let's face it, they haven't been coloring comic books like that for at least 30 years.
Yeah.
There are people who this language is, it may not, they be like, yo, something's wrong. They won't know what's going on. So it just didn't hit me like that because I've read books like that. But, you know, for other people, they'll be like, what the fuck? So
for people who can't see it, it is, if you think of Roy Lichtenstein, the artist.
With the little dots.
Yeah, little dots, little color dots.
Yeah. And that's the way they colored comic books back in the 70s, ladies and gentlemen. Go ask me. I'm telling you. But I dug it. It was a cool little comic book for a change. I really appreciated it.
Now wait a minute. Hal2814 chimed in. He says, I saw crossover #1 at my comic book store and remembered JD's review of it because I did a Thunder Round early in the week. And I didn't buy it, so maybe now I'll check it out. What has happened between my review on my Thunder Round to now that you're going to check it out? I said the same things in my Thunder Round.
But now Len has spoken.
He didn't disagree with me.
Yeah, but just that changed something within Hal 2814.
Okay. But yeah, anyway, Brian, what'd you think?
I liked it a lot. And I thought there were a couple of really good lines, like literally a couple, like 2 really good lines. And I'll get to those in 1 second, but I hadn't really taken note on the credits page. You've got the classic cyan, magenta, yellow, black kind of that they used to do. I mean, we haven't seen those in years and years, but because of the printing process, those would be up at the top of the pages of older comics, so that they could align as they printed. They would print all the blues, all the reds, all the yellow, you know, and so it was cool to see those there. I thought the lines that I was talking about was they're debating who is more real, you or Superman, and also I thought it was unexpected and interesting that they actually use the word Superman, you know, and they say like you're real, you walk around, you have friends, you affect change. And I thought that was a cool way to phrase that. And the other one being at one of the conflicts in the issue, this comic book store is hit with it's blown up, and the guy who throws the explosive, they say, you know, this is this guy, he's something or other, and like it or not, this story is about him also. Yeah. And I just thought that was a cool turn of phrase. Also, it didn't really hit me before, but it's an interesting twist that like this little girl that is somebody from the comic book world does not appear to be a superhero or anything like that. Like she seems like she's just somebody from fiction who now maybe she does have powers, and it is only the kind of main characters of fiction that made its way through. And you know, it's not like a huge deal probably, but it's interesting.
Well, the interesting, to touch on that, and that didn't occur to me. I assumed she was a kid with powers, but now they're bringing it up. I didn't realize at first with the big event that happens where all the superheroes are transported into the real world. I did not at first notice the city comes with them.
Yeah.
And it destroys a real world city in order to, you know, it plops it directly in the middle of a city and obliterates it.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even realize the first time I saw it, which is just awful. So I wonder if the denizens of that fictional city are also there too, and they have to sort of figure out how to live with real people, which is another really interesting thing that they could be looking at. Christopher St. Saucy Goodnight also made a very good point and said it's going to have an interesting take on religious fanaticism as well, which is heavily at work here in this first issue, which I think is really interesting.
Hey, you know, JD, now that you mention it, I wonder if this is this city that shows up. I didn't notice that it had destroyed an existing city, although it's very clear on the page. I just didn't notice it. I am now thinking this is not a city. These are like individual buildings from that like has kind of created a city, because they all look different from each other.
Yeah.
Or like they look like they're of different cities. What was it? I am wondering how they can, with the big reveal at the end, the final page, how they can do that, right?
So that was the wrap up of my Thunder round. I went, this
Oh,
is
okay.
all well and good, but like you said earlier, they're alluding to characters, and I think the strength of this book would be if I had my druthers. Oh, Donny Cates, go ahead and use Superman and Spider-Man and Batman and Wolverine, and you can use all the actual characters. Now I know in the really real world that is highly unlikely, if not impossible. But wouldn't it be cool if, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's not Superman, but it's a guy with an S on his chest, you know.
Supraman.
Yeah, Supreme. Yeah.
Well, because they even use the name Superman and then show a drawing of Superman. Oh, that's the Daily Planet right there, I believe. We're showing on screen the city that pops in, and something that looks a lot like the Daily Planet. It always strikes me how much shorter the Daily Planet is than the other buildings in Metropolis. It's just
I always thought it was like one of the tallest buildings.
Yeah, but I guess because it's old. You know, it's like an old old building. Yeah. I was also. You guys might remember, Len. I don't think you were on that week, but we did a different event comic that was called some Commanders in Crisis, I believe.
Oh, I did. I was there where everybody was like a president from their other reality.
Yeah, and that one didn't land with us. No. And
hey, Noel.
Hey, Noel. Noel says hi to us, by the way, as you might have intimated.
Literally just read this with my coffee today. Such a fun, fascinating book. Bouncing off, but I love your faces.
Yours too, Noel. Although we can't see it right now, but I remember, and I expect to see it again. But yeah, that one, in fact, when we got this, I was like, wait, are we reading issue 2 of that comic? And then I remembered, like, oh no, this is different. And I maybe unfairly rated this higher because of that one. I was like, oh, this is so much better than that other kind of. They are both kind of attempts to create a whole giant world all at once. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. Although this one uses pre-existing characters. And well, since JD is showing it on the screen, the reveal at the end is that the one who has helped the girl get away is Superman, presumably. Looks a lot like Superman. And he would be the one, right? Like, if he was around. But how are they going to do that? Like, how can that be? And I'm curious to see. He'll figure it out.
At the end here, there is, from the author, Donny Cates, and at the very bottom, he says, gosh, where is it? But he basically says, you won't believe who we're able to use. You wouldn't believe like what we're able to do, or something like that, which made me think, oh, okay, I guess maybe they've got some permission from somebody.
Maybe. Hey, maybe, I mean, you know, a rising tide raises all ships, you know?
Here we go. In short, I wanted to make something big and bombastic, but also small and intimate and connected to a larger, almost infinite world filled with shocking guest stars that ... Man, I'm still pinching myself that we get to play with. So that makes me go, well, who did they get? Who are they able to play with? Because even earlier in this issue, you know, the religious zealot is holding a comic book and it says Super Squad, which isn't a thing that exists. You know what I mean? It's not a real property.
Right.
So I want to talk about the design for a second. Len was talking about the cover of the book. And I really like the title treatment. It takes me so long to scroll back in this reader. But basically, you've got the word crossover, and then the O in crossover has a negative space, and then there's 2 other negative space bubbles, which basically is a visual representation of the multiverse, I would assume.
I think there's 2 meanings, actually.
Well, the ellipses.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
I did not notice that at all. Very cool.
Because that's her name, the lead character's name.
Yeah. Which is also, her name
is. It just hit you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I peeped that when I saw it.
Yeah. And she also goes by Ellie or Elle, which I thought was like, oh, is that like a Superman reference too?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's really interesting stuff in this. I'm curious about it. Oh, you know, the very first page, you've got 2 quotes one from Frederick Wortham, from Seduction of the Innocent. If anyone doesn't know who that is, it's a very interesting story. The world of the comic book is the world of the strong, the ruthless, the bluffer, the shrewd deceiver, the torturer, and the thief. In comic books, life is worth nothing. There is no dignity of a human being. Second quote is, kids love chains, Todd McFarlane.
Frederick Wortham, noted wrong guy.
Point.
Well done.
Thank you.
Point.
Well done. That was awesome.
Thanks.
So,
But you know what? Speaking about how two things. One, speaking of how they might use these other characters, right? Like it'll be fun to see who he does get to play with. You have to imagine that he'll be able to play with, you got to imagine. Well, first of all, because I think he's just down for this type of thing. Anybody in the Robert Kirkman or Eric Larson universe is probably like, they probably said, go at it, dude. Do what you want. Because that's just how those two type of guys get down. And I would imagine that Todd McFarlane, sitting on top of us, 1,000 stacks is like, sure, whatever. Bring me more royalties. I don't care. You know what I mean? So outside of them, it will be fun to see who he gets to play with. But it can be as simple as, especially with Superman, it can be as simple as you just show the forearm in blue holding somebody's hand. You don't have to say that it's Superman, but everybody will know that it's Superman. If you go into the early days of Savage Dragon, Eric Larson was famous for putting in slightly edited visions of other people's characters in his book. Like Batman would be in there. You just wouldn't see the ears. It would just slightly like, and you could tell it was Batman. And he didn't say it wasn't Batman, but he didn't say it was Batman. You just knew it was Batman. So he could do that in this as well. Another moment that famously comes to mind was that way back in Marvels when Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross, were showing like, the heroes emerging in the 40s and 50s. And across the rooftops, you saw a hero with a red cape, red boots and blue tights leaping over the rooftops. Everybody assumed that they were, saying like, oh my God, Superman is in the Marvel Universe, especially since they alluded to having Clark Kent and Lois Lane there when the original Human Torch, lit up. But it wasn't, Superman. They, for the record, said, "Oh no, there was this timely hero back in the day that was called, like Red Cape Man or something like that." That was
Red
actually,
Cape Man,
leaping across the joint. They had their official story ready, but we all know what Alex Ross was doing, ladies and gentlemen. We all know it. You know what I mean? So I can imagine that if he wanted to really put in Superman or a Superman symbol in here, he'll find a way to do it. And I'm eager to see how he makes it work. And the second thing is the religious zealot that you were talking about, JD, in this book. I bet you $1 that the artist, Jeff Shaw, modeled that religious zealot off of John Goodman. All I saw was John Goodman every time I looked at that character.
I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
I wonder, guys, if the difference in coloration style, the people from fiction being the dots and whatever, if he did get the ability to use some Marvel or DC characters, if that was part of it. Not that they told him he had to, but that was part of what made them willing to let him use them.
Okay.
Was like, these are the fictional characters in the real world, and they're clearly distinct rather than being like real characters who are in the real world kind of thing. Also, there's a long history of artists, because at this point, gotta believe most people that write and draw comics are comics fans themselves, from a long time in their past. And, they always kind of slip in here or there. I remember Barry Allen made an appearance in the Marvel Universe after Crisis on Infinite Earths. Just recently, there was a shot of all the different Captains Marvel in a Marvel comic, and one of them, the different colors, but it was the DC Captain Marvel, Shazam, was in there. And I love that kind of thing. I always find that fun,
I on another note, I like how she dresses down the retailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. And how he immediately is like, that was shitty. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I had a bad experience in a comic shop when I was a little kid, which is part of the reason I even own a comic shop now. And I like that they addressed that a little bit in here. It did hurt me to see the comic book store engulfed in flames at the end, though.
Yeah.
That hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is off to a really interesting start. I'm really curious to see where it's going. Yeah, I think it's another first issue that I'm more interested in where it is than what it's done so far, or where it's going than what it's done so far. But yeah, I'm definitely going to stick with this. Donny Cates has really been knocking a lot of work out of the park, and I've been really enjoying his stuff recently. So I will definitely be checking more of this out.
It's an interesting comment from Christopher Goodnight. The comic shop is very similar to John Cusack's record store in High Fidelity.
Oh, nice.
I hadn't thought of it, but yeah, it.
I got that vibe too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
I love
JD.
High Fidelity.
JD, I don't have, as I'm scanning my trades right now, I don't have anything by Donny Cates. So, if you were to suggest one trade, the first Donny Cates trade for me to put on my shelf, what would it be?
Thanos Wins is the first thing I ever read by Donny Cates that when I was done, I went, oh, who wrote this? I'm going to remember this guy's name. Thanos Wins. I don't care about Thanos. I don't care about Ghost Rider. I don't care about the Silver Surfer. And he wrote Thanos Wins, and I read it on a lark, and I was like, oh, I'm going to remember this name. I liked it. It was so much fun. It was big and crazy and bombastic. I really enjoyed it.
All right, cool. Thank you. Thanos Wins.
All right. Let's see. Oh, and when it came up on screen, I noticed John Goodman resemblance. Oh, do we assume the Barbara Gordon lookalike is a transfer over from the comic as well? I don't know who he's talking about. Is he talking?
I think he's talking about Ellipses.
I think he's talking about Ellipses. And no, I don't think that she is.
No.
Because her parents are still stuck in somebody has thrown up a force field around the whole of Colorado, I believe, to prevent this battle from spilling out. Another interesting thing is we don't know what that battle's all about, and that could be an element. It didn't even occur to me until now. I think it's interesting that she wears a mask, but no, I think she's from their real world.
Yeah, I think that's just like a cosplay element.
Exactly, just being true. Just representing.
Yeah,
what she's about.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to U.S. Agent number 1 of 5 from Marvel Comics by Christopher Priest and Georges Janty. American Zealot, chapter 1 of 5. John Walker, the former super patriot, they didn't even mention this, and also former Captain America, has been stripped of his official U.S. agent status and is now operating as an independent government contractor protecting government covert interests. His latest protection detail draws him into a conflict between a small town and the corporate giant trying to destroy it. John acquires a new partner and new enemy along the way while being haunted by ghosts from his past and confronting challenges to his future. So my first interaction with John Walker was back in the mid to late 90s, where Captain America, Steve Rogers, lets go of the costume. He starts another identity, and then John Walker becomes Captain America, and he eventually goes off the deep end. He starts murdering people, and Steve has to come back and take the shield. Which I
think it was Nomad.
He was Nomad, yeah.
But I think that was when he was Nomad, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of all I have. That's like my only experience with John Walker. I haven't really paid him much attention since, but he's here. And he seems a little dumber than before. Before he was brutal, but I don't think he was like an idiot. And here he just seems not that intelligent. But I kind of like this type of character, and it reminds me of Kane, where
From Spider-Man?
Kane from Spider-Man. So Kane eventually becomes the Scarlet Spider, and he decides he's going to try and be a good guy, even though he has historically been bad. And I always kind of like someone whose initial reaction isn't to be good, but then trying to be good. I think that's an interesting story to tell. And we have elements of that here, where he's like not great at it, but he's trying. And yeah, I think it's got, I was going to say interesting things. I don't know if it has interesting things to say about conservatives, but it does have things to say about conservatives. And
Yes.
I'm curious to think what you guys thought of it. Len.
I found myself kind of liking the comic book, and and it was hard because there's a lot about this comic book to be like you. I don't remember the character of John Walker being this dumb. I mean, because I think dumb is like putting it the spot on, right? And yet I appreciate that they're doing something different with the character. You know, not every, heroic figure operates at the height of their intelligence. Case in point. So, and sometimes they can't, even while doing the right thing, it doesn't mean that some of their baser instincts or motivations don't sometimes, spill out while they're doing that effort. He's clearly a very well, let's not say complex. He's racist. He's but he's racist. He's misogynistic. He's just a jerk. He is Guy Gardner, but in a shield, in the flag, wrapped in the flag instead of green. And maybe he's even a step above Guy Gardner. Like, I think Guy Gardner would look at this dude and say, like, bruh. But you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But because of that, and because it is clearly played with his tongue firmly, deeply implanted in his cheek, and because he does get his comeuppance every once in a while in this comic, including a very well drawn and choreographed fight scene with a pizza guy that I was actually like, this is actually pretty well done. Like, there's some strikes there that actually feel like, ow, that looks like it hurts. You know what I mean? When he drops an elbow onto his arm, I'm like, yo, right there in that left corner. I was like, that hurt, man. You know what I mean? It hurt me. So I found myself, despite myself, look there at that top panel. That's how something goes through a window or a wall, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you do it. Yeah. That's exactly how it's done. There is the difference. And this art is probably not as well drawn as that Batman splash panel was, but you feel the action, you feel it all, and it is all shown in this page. And this is how we meet Maury. I was like, this reminded me. I'm going back into the crates, into the long boxes. This reminded me of Quantum and Woody, the first iteration of Quantum and Woody. Just very tongue in cheek, just superheroes who, or maybe they may want to make some different career choices, but this is the one they made, so they're going to roll with it. And you just sit down and enjoy it. And I found myself having a good time with this comic book. It was a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, Christopher Priest was the original writer for Quantum and Woody, right? So it has a lot of those same elements where he uses, he always does that. No matter what book he's writing, there's a black panel with a white text, and there's like a chapter break, and he gives you what the chapter break title is. Yeah, he always has a very similar style throughout his oeuvre. Am I saying that word right? I always think I'm not saying it right.
No, that's it.
Yeah. Brian.
I could not get into this comic. I just now, in fairness, I am not into U.S. Agent. You know, I mean, he's like several steps down from somebody that I'm interested in. You know, like if he was in a good story, I wouldn't turn it away. But I just would never be drawn to a U.S. Agent story because it was U.S. Agent. This didn't occur to me until we were looking at it on screen here, but his shield, it's got the letters U.S. in it, which are fine if you are drawing it and can always draw it upright. But I think JD has on screen right now the only time when it is not when it is not drawn upright. And it's like, how does the shield keep winding up with the letters pointing the right way up? You know,
SN.
Yeah. And also I can see it coming. It's going to be a running gag that he gets his shield destroyed all the time because it's not Captain America's shield, you know, and it's fine as it is, but I wasn't taken in by it. I'm a little curious as to the whole deal with, so he keeps ordering pizzas and throwing the pizza guys in the basement.
Yeah.
Trying to draw out somebody who is delivering pizzas with bombs in them to him specifically. Like, why would the guy wait? There's so many different, like, what kind of plan is that?
I think, it didn't really click with me until Len literally just said Quantum and Woody, that this is the type of book that is.
Okay.
Like, he's so dumb that it's supposed to be funny. Like, this isn't supposed to be a serious superhero doing serious business. I think it's supposed to be kind of almost a comedy book.
Okay. Now, I did think it was interesting, the whole, like, in the very beginning, it opens up with a lot of people whose local, like, coal mine industry has gone away some time ago, and their town is not doing well, and a new business moves in, and they're like, but they didn't help any of us. They brought all their own guys in for construction. They don't even buy groceries here. They don't pay taxes because they're tax exempt. It doesn't help us out at all, and maybe it hurts them. I'm not sure, but then we find out it's a SHIELD headquarters.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's why. Of course, they wouldn't have local construction workers in their super secret, SHIELD headquarters, but nobody living there would realize that. I thought that was an interesting twist.
I was actually reading an article about this today because Newsarama or CBR or I forget which one, but they had posted a review of it and they didn't like it very much, and they said that it makes fun of conservatives because of those scenes, right? They show those scenes where it's the talking heads and they're just small town people explaining that, the thing that their town was based on is going the way of the buffalo, and that it's not Amazon, but it's Amazon shows up and has a big Amazon headquarters there. And they thought, oh, great, at least this will bring jobs and prosperity to our town. And it doesn't. Now, of course, we find out later it's because it's SHIELD, but I think that is a separate thing. I think the commentary here is there are people in middle America who rely very heavily on whatever it is that they're creating in that town, be it coal or something else. And once that goes away, what happens to these people?
Yeah,
and I think that's a very serious look at, or serious commentary on what's happening. I don't think that's supposed to be a joke, and I don't think it's making fun of conservatives. No. But I thought it was kind of interesting, and I think that's where there's a little bit of unbalance in this issue, where we're talking about something very serious that I think is a huge problem in America that needs to be addressed, but then we're also doing the pizza guy thing. So it's hard to figure out what the book is trying to be, in my opinion.
I didn't take it. I mean, to be honest, I'm surprised that somebody took those as making fun of those people. They seemed like they had legitimate, serious grievances, and were treated respectfully in the comic. Like, there's no like gags about. Now they speak in a dialect that is not what is commonly accepted as the like proper grammar or whatever, but that's how there are people that talk like that. Like, that's not making fun of them. It's just accurately reflecting how they talk. I also was one of the more interesting things to me, had nothing to do with the book at all, but there's a thing in this area for people that aren't from Pennsylvania called shoe fly pie, right? And it's great. It's made of a bunch of different sugars and molasses and one more kind of sugar and that kind of thing is basically what it is, and some
Very rich.
some pie crust at the bottom. Yeah. Now I always thought it was called shoe fly pie because it was so sweet that the flies came and you were like, shoe fly. You're like, shoo, get out of here. That was my assumption, and it may be a double thing. But they mention these former coal workers. They use the word shoe fly. And they say, what do they say exactly? The shoe fly, there's a little asterisk that tells you what this term means, is a transverse passage in a mine. So, I mean, Pennsylvania has a lot of coal, or has had. And I wonder if that has something to do with the name. And I meant to look it up and figure it out, and I didn't. But I do still intend to. And it also could be one of those things that it is both of those things.
Yeah.
Right? Like they originally called it this because of this, but then also the flies keep coming by, who knows. So it was interesting.
Yeah. Action figure expert wants to know, how long do you guys think Steve Rogers went under the name U.S. Agent?
Did he go under U.S. Agent?
I think so, yeah.
Was he U.S. Agent when John Walker was Captain America? Because he's been Nomad, he's been the Captain.
He's been everything.
Yeah.
I think he was U.S. Agent during the storyline we're talking about with John Walker. I think Nomad was a previous time that he was franchised with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, because Nomad was around the Nixon Gerald Ford. That was the 70s.
Oh, right. Because it was
originated. Yeah.
It depicted. It was like a direct response to Nixon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's interesting, but I think it's a bit of a misfire. I'm not sure what the book's trying to be. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see with issue 2 if it leans more heavily on the comedy or the commentary.
Action figure expert says shoe fly pie is the best.
That's the buzz around town.
That's the one because of all the flies.
Buzz! Web of Venom.
Oh no.
Empire's End #1 from Marvel Comics by Clay McLeod Chapman and I don't know how to say that word. Guiu Villanova.
Oh.
I don't know.
I'm not even gonna try. I will offend. It's terrible. I will not do it correctly. Is what I'm saying. Noel is coming. Wait, what? Oh, that's
what?
a variant.
Noel's coming?
For weeks, chaos engulfed Earth and space alike. First, the corpse of serial killer Cletus Cassidy was bonded to a remnant of a mysteriously powerful alien symbiote, resurrecting his psychotic alter ego Carnage. Then, the generations-long Kree-Skrull conflict reached a brutal head on Earth with shocking and unforeseen consequences. Meanwhile, one ancient entity at the edge of the universe was awoken. Born of hate and darkness, it's the entity that feeds on chaos and brutality, and one group of unlucky fighters is about to face it head on. So, Empire's End, Web of Venom #1, bridges the gap between Absolute Carnage, Empire, and now the King in Black. And what I liked about this is that it felt like a horror movie. It felt like a space horror movie, which I thought was kind of cool. Other than that, I don't know that it served any purpose other than, oh no, Nola's coming, which we already knew. What did you think, Brian?
My apologies, guys. When we got done U.S. Agent, I was like, and that is it for this week. And I totally forgot to read Web of Venom Empire's End. The first page looks good. Looks pretty well illustrated. First couple of pages. And that one too. Second page. Coming in hot. So I'm sorry about that, gentlemen.
Len, what did you
gentlemen,
think?
ladies of the audience.
Oh God, that was priceless.
What about this page? Does this page look good?
Yeah, it's rocking it. All right.
Nice,
3 for 3 up to now.
There you go. Yeah, you'll appreciate that page, B, because the top panel gave you a kind of very Star Trek type of vibe, everybody sitting on the bridge.
I do love a good cosmic, space thing in comics or, wherever usually.
Yeah. I thought this, like JD, it's a kind of like a fun comic book. You know, the whole, and I dig the whole horror aspect, like you were talking about, JD. It definitely has an alien vibe to it. I thought the art serves it very well as well. So I think it pulls it off. But again, it's just like this is very much the pre-credit scenes to the next big movie, right?
Yeah.
And like, I think what is spelled out in how many pages is this? 20 something, 30 pages.
Yeah.
I think this could have been 5 pages of the main story. I don't really think that it serves any other purpose than to be, again, just like Wolverine Black, White, and Red gives you a license to have Wolverine just murk everybody. Now, this entity has license in this one book to be as bloody and destructive as they can be, because none of these characters matter. And the only one that matters at all that you've met before, as always, got away. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, some of them you've met before, but did you really care? Not really. So, they were easy to get taken off the board in however gruesome fashion they wanted to do. So, this was well done, well depicted, but it was, yeah.
Same. I agree. Yeah. What's the movie? Life. There was a movie called Life, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and if you get to the end of it, it feels very much like a prequel to Venom. And so I got a lot of Life vibes from this one.
Okay.
And the way that the symbiote organism works in that movie, I was able to transfer onto this, which made it more creepy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Otherwise, this was. I didn't need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just.
I wish I had more to say about it. Like, okay, there's Noel. He's coming. All right.
Yeah.
And there's dragons in space. I don't care about space dragons really.
Yeah.
But,
It's nothing. I mean, well done. Like I said, it's well done. The art is pretty cool. But
yeah. But like, and there's nothing. It's not even like, when I expected Noel to talk, I expected more personality or something more to grab onto, and there's just not really there. He says, "We have crept across the cosmos, dragging the shadows of our planet over the length of the galaxy, one planet at a time, like a death shroud. You are next." And I'm like, all right, that's just cookie cutter.
Yeah.
This is what villains say. Like, all right.
Yeah. That could easily be Thanos, Darkseid.
Yeah. Yeah.
You pick your cosmic poison. That's who it could be.
Analysts, especially.
Analysts.
That's almost exactly the kind of thing.
Oh, do you call him analyst? I always called him a nihilist.
I call him a nihilist too, but I didn't want B to be wrong. So
that's all right. I mean, I could be. I've also heard the word annihilate is, I think, the correct pronunciation. I've heard people say annihilate, but I think that's wrong, and I might be the only one that I've heard say that. This is. I think
Volvic Titan says, "What is this?" This is the Spoiler Alert Gutter Talk podcast where we talk about this week's comics.
There you go.
Welcome to the end of the show. We are wrapping up, but we do go live every Sunday at 10:30 a.m.
Wait a minute. I thought we had one more comic to do.
I don't know. Now, wait. Do you pronounce that Volvic Titan? Because I pronounce it Volvicitian.
Volvicitian.
Yeah. No, I think the analyst thing, I mean, as I may have mentioned on the show before, I always pronounced it Magneto until probably the 90s cartoon show, because why wouldn't you? But a lot of other people didn't. And, when you just read something, and analyst is one from so long in my past, when I was much younger, and he doesn't really come up that much anymore, that I am totally willing to believe that it's a nihilist for sure. Yeah. But he spreads waves of things across space. So
the analyst.
Analyst.
Christopher Goodnight says, wasn't Ryan Reynolds in that? Yes, he was. He was in the movie Life. Yeah. It's a pretty solid, space horror film. If you're into that, I would check it out.
Wait, Len, did you have another comic you wanted to talk
what
about?
book
What
are
do
you
you got?
talking about, Len?
Something you read this week?
Wait, maybe y'all did this last week and I missed it. I'm sorry. Because I read from Image Comics, The Scumbag.
That's
We
from,
did do
2
that
weeks
last
ago.
week.
Yeah.
We 2 weeks ago, right? It was 2.
Oh, shit.
Well, what'd you think, Len? You like?
What'd you think of Rick Remender's The Scumbag?
Oh, shit. My bad.
That's all right.
Come on, give us a
You'll
thunder
be,
round
you'll
or
be
something.
all
What do you
ready
got?
when we talk about Scumbag Do.
Okay, well, my 30 seconds on The Scumbag. Yo, The Scumbag is the shit. This book was so effing good, man. This was so effing cool. Like, for all you people who are celebrating that, we finally have a woman as a vice president, in America, then all of you people who go under the heading of white trash, you have your hero in The Scumbag. The Scumbag is this dude. He is the worst person in the world, and he is now our savior. It is butt ass funny. It is fantastic artwork. It is gorgeous. It is hilarious. It is crass. It is gross. It is disgusting. But I balls out laughed on every fucking page of this book. Oh my God, I love this comic book. This is
nice.
one of the most refreshing things I have read in such a long fucking time. The Scumbag was all that. I am there for every fucking issue of this book.
Great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I hope.
I thought it was fine.
What?
Yeah.
I really thought you would love this book, JD. You didn't
it
love
really
this
made me
book?
laugh. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
But I like
Alright.
Rick
Okay.
Remender.
Okay.
So,
All right.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to talk about, the second issue when it comes out. So we will revisit it here on the show. If anyone wants to help out the show, you can go to patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo. Help us out that way. If you don't have any money, just like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. Let the people know that we're here.
If you don't have any money, ladies and gentlemen, you really want to help us out, look for the show on Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That is the biggest way you can help the show because that helps other people find the show.
Yes, all I have to do is finish editing the last 4 podcasts and put it on the stream. Listen, it's been a busy month.
Sure.
I did that Bad Things Happen in Philadelphia gritty T-shirt that I drew.
I saw that.
300 orders, more than 300 orders, like 2 weeks ago. I'm just wrapping up those orders, and now because of the election, I have another. How many Etsy orders do I have now? 151 new orders.
Wow.
And that's only orders. That's not T-shirts. That's some of these orders are like 5 shirts. So I have a lot to do. So I haven't.
And
had
if
time
you would like to
edit the
further
podcast.
overwhelm JG, you can purchase one of those shirts from his store at Johnny
If you
Destructo's
go to-
Hero Complex.
If you go to JohnnyDestructo.com, my Etsy is there, and you can buy a Bad Things Happen in Philadelphia gritty T-shirt that I drew myself. Len, where can the people find you?
Yo, you can check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Every place Black Tribbles, at Black Tribbles. Holler at a Tribble. Holla, 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 holla. My love.
And Brian.
I'm at brianliebdesign.com, and you can find me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Join us. We're going to be doing Thunder Rounds throughout the week. Hopefully, me and Noel usually do Thunder Rounds. And then if not, we will see you here next Sunday, 10:30 a.m., where we will talk about this upcoming week's comics. So thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we will talk at you later.